Book 2, the Book of the Traveller of the Worlds, Canto 2, the Kingdom of Subtle Matter. Now, from the world stair, when Ashwapati is climbing the world stair, the last line, you see, he mounted towards an indiscernible end on the bare summit of created things. So he is leaving creation into the next world of the world stair, which is the kingdom of subtle matter. Now, of course, you see, they're like Sri Aurobindo describes his journey upward and inward in terms of kingdoms that he explores, almost like you go to countries when you explore the world. So when he is exploring the inner and the higher worlds, Ashwapati is also going from one country to another, one kingdom to another. So the first kingdom that Ashwapati enters on the world stair, after he climbs the world stair, which is the end of created things, where, as you saw described here in the world stair, he sees all this, he experiences it, he understands all this, and he is now at the summit of created things. And he understands the mystery of the world and how it was created and so on. The first kingdom he enters is the kingdom of subtle matter. So he's gone from gross matter, which is the universe. So the universe is what? Gross matter. Matter in its most physical form. He is now entered into the plane of subtle matter, which is matter, again matter, but in its more subtle form, which is, it doesn't have the dimensions of, of weight and of gravity and so on and so forth. So you see subtle forms, don't you, all of us, in our dreams. We go to subtle planes, and that is the kingdom of subtle matter that he's entered into. Now, this is a wonderful description of what this kingdom is. So when you see these subtle forms, not only of people, but of things and of various things. Mostly we enter these planes in sleep or in trance or in deep meditation. You will recognize some of the things he's saying here. So the kingdom of subtle matter, which is very close to the earth, in the sense it's interpenetrable, but we don't see these forms, because our eyes are more used to seeing only gross matter. So, Canto 2, the kingdom of subtle matter. In the impalpable field. Impalpable, you understand the meaning? Palpable is something you can touch and feel. So impalpable is something you cannot touch or feel. In the impalpable field of secret self, this little outer being's vast support. So the vast support of the outer being is this field of secret self, parted from vision by earth's solid fence. So in the impalpable field of secret self, this little outer being's vast support, parted from vision by earth's solid fence, he came into a magic crystal air and found a life that lived not by the flesh, a light that made visible immaterial things. So many times Mother has referred to in the agenda that the new world is already created in the subtle physical realm. It's already there in subtle matter. That even these forms that you see in the world, somewhere have been created already in some other form, another world. So even the Gnostic center, we say that there's a descent of a form that comes down, a descent of an idea that comes down, descent of a concept that comes down, descent of inventions that come down, and so on and so forth. So this is the place. Now, impalpable field of secret self, this little outer being's vast support parted from vision by earth's solid fence, he came into a magic crystal air and found a life that lived not by the flesh, a light that made visible immaterial things, a fine degree in wonder's hierarchy. The kingdom of subtle matters, fairy craft, outlined against a sky of vivid hues, leaping out of a splendor trance and haze, the wizard revelation of its front. So this kingdom of subtle matters, fairy craft, which was outlined against a sky of vivid hues, leapt out of a splendor trance and haze, the wizard revelation of its front. A world of lovelier forms, lies near to ours, where, undisguised by earth's deforming sight, all shapes are beautiful and all things true. In that lucent ambience, mystically clear, the eyes were doors to a celestial sense. Hearing was music, and touch a charm, and the heart drew a deeper breath of power. There dwell earth nature's shining origins, where, in this kingdom of subtle matter, is the dwelling place of earth's origins, shining origins. Everything that has been created here on earth is far more beautiful, and its origin is in this subtle field, in the subtle kingdom, subtle matter. Unless it's created there first, it cannot come down here and manifest on earth. But its most beautiful forms are there. On earth, when it comes down, it somehow goes through some sort of deformation because of the earthly crude sight and the earthly consciousness, which is still deeply embedded in unconsciousness. So all shapes are beautiful and all things true. In that lucent ambience, mystically clear, the eyes were doors to a celestial sense. Hearing was music, and the touch a charm, and the heart drew a deeper breath of power. There dwell earth nature's shining origins, the perfect plans on which she molds her work. So the perfect plans is like an architect. The architectural plan is up in that subtle matter, and its physical manifestation of that architectural plan is on earth. So there dwell earth nature's shining origins, the perfect plans on which she molds her works, the distant outcomes of her travailing force, repose in a framework of established fate. Attempted vainly now, or won in vain, already were mapped and scheduled there the time and figure of her future sovereignties in the sumptuous lineaments traced by desire, the golden issue of mind's labyrinth plots, the riches unfound or still uncaught by our lives, unsullied by the attaint of mortal thought, abide in that pellucid atmosphere. So do you know the meaning of the word pellucid? We use it a lot in the movies. How interesting that Sri Aurobindo uses this word here. Abide in that pellucid atmosphere. What is pellucid? So it's almost clear, but also there is... Yeah, so pellucid atmosphere. Our vague beginnings are overtaken there. Our middle terms sketched out in prescient...
Translucently clear, not very clear. Translucently clear.
So if you see a screen, those screens are called pellucid. So translucently, not transparent. So abide in that pellucid atmosphere. Our vague beginnings are overtaken there, our middle terms sketched out in prescient lines, our finished ends anticipated live. This brilliant roof of our descending plane, intercepting the free boon of heaven's air, amid small inrushes of a mighty breath or fragment circuits through gold lattices, it shields our ceiling of terrestrial mind from deathless suns and the streaming of God's rain, yet canalizes a strange irised glow, and bright dews drip from the immortal sky. So, this is a very interesting and very important canto, mainly because it's so relevant to it's so close to earth, and it's everything on earth is created there first, and everything that will be created on earth is already present there. Our middle terms, sketched out in prescient lines, our finished ends anticipated live. This brilliant roof of our descending plane, intercepting the free boon of heaven's air, Amid small inrushes of a mighty breath, of fragrant circuits through gold lattices, it shields our ceiling of terrestrial mind from deathless suns and the streaming of God's rain, yet canalizes a strange irised glow, and bright dews drip from the immortal sky. A passage for the powers that move our days, occult behind this grosser nature's walls, a gossamer marriage hall of mind with form, is hidden by a tapestry of dreams. Heaven's meaning steal through it and through a veil. Its inner sight sustains this outer scene. A finer consciousness with happier lines, it has a tact our touch cannot attain. A purity of sense we never feel. Its intercession with the eternal ray inspires our transient earth's brief-lived attempts at beauty and the perfect shape of things, in rooms of the young divinity of power and early play of the eternal child, the embodiments of his outwinging thoughts, laved in a bright, everlasting wonder's tints, and lulled by whispers of that lucid air, take dream-hued rest like birds on timeless trees, before they dive to float on earth-time's sea. All that here seems has lovelier semblance there, where in the subtle kingdom of matter, all that here seems has lovelier semblance there. Whatever our hearts conceive, our heads create, some high original beauty forfeiting. Hence exiled here consents to an earthly tinge. Whatever is here of visible charm and grace finds there its faultless and immortal lines. All that is beautiful here is there divine. Whatever is here of visible charm and grace finds there its faultless and immortal lines. All that is beautiful here is there divine. So this is, of course, there meaning the subtle world, the subtle matter, the subtle physical. So whatever is here of visible charm and grace finds there its faultless and immortal lines. All that is beautiful here is there divine. Figures are there undreamed by mortal mind, bodies that have no earthly counterpart, traverse the inner eye's illumined trance, and ravish the heart with their celestial tread, persuading heaven to inhabit that wonder sphere. The future's marvels wander in its gulfs. Things old and new are fashioned in those depths. A carnival of beauty crowds the heights. In that magic kingdom of ideal sight, in its antechambers of splendid privacy, matter and soul in conscious union meet, like lovers in a lonely secret place. So here in the realm of the subtle physical, both matter and spirit are meet in conscious union. One is not in unconsciousness. Like on earth, matter is still inconscient, but there matter is fully conscious. That's why the beautiful figures, the immortal secrecies, immortal bodies, so on. Matter and soul in conscious union meet, like lovers in a lonely secret place, in the clasp of a passion not yet unfortunate. They join their strength and sweetness and delight, and mingling make the high and low worlds one. Matter and spirit join together in a perfect union to make both the worlds, the high and the low worlds, one. Intruder from the formless infinite, daring to break into the inconscious reign, the spirit's leap towards body touches ground. As yet unwrapped in earthly lineaments, already it wears outlasting death and birth, convincing the abyss by heavenly form, a covering of its immortality, alive to the luster of the wearer's rank, fit to endure the rub of change and time. A tissue mixed of the soul's radiant light and matter's substance of sign-burdened force, imagined vainly in our mind's thin air, an abstract phantasm, mold of mental make. It feels what earthly bodies cannot feel, and is more real than this grosser frame. So this subtle physical frame of the and body that is made of the substance of spirit and matter joined in perfect union, and that substance is full of light and has that subtle luster and hue, is something that a covering of its immortality, alive to the luster of the wearer's rank, fit to endure the rub of change and time, that so it is deathless, a tissue mixed of the soul's radiant light and matter's substance of sign-burdened force, imagined vainly in our mind's thin air, an abstract phantasmal mold of mental make. It feels what earthly bodies cannot feel. So this body feels what earthly bodies cannot feel and is more real than this grosser frame. So in a very interesting way, here Sri Aurobindo is saying that this subtle body, this lighter subtle body that we all have, is actually more real than the grosser earthly physical body. In fact, I was reading yesterday about what Om means, A-U-M, and somebody was writing a fantastic article on the value that Om actually is the substance of the subtle physical. This realm is made of Om in its most A-U-M. A-U-M is the conscious physical, vital and mental. Forms the subtle material substance which is in the subtle world, and then which comes down into the grosser world becomes the gross material substance, that enters into the inconscient. So, an abstract phantasmal mold of mental make, it feels what earthly bodies cannot feel, and is more real than this grosser frame. After the falling of mortality's cloak, lightened is its way to heighten its ascent. So, but once this grossness that actually pulls it down is removed, the frame that, we say that like a cloak, the gross body falls off at death, then it becomes lighter and can rise. Lightened is its weight, it to heighten its ascent, can move forward. Refined to the touch of finer environments, it drops old patterned palls of denser stuff, cancels the grip of earth's descending pull, and bears the soul from world to higher world. So once this gross material physical body drops, we are left with this subtle physical body that can, because of its lightened weight, it can move up to higher and higher planes and ascent, refined to the touch of finer environments. And this subtle body, it drops old patterned balls of denser stuff, cancels the grip of Earth's descending pull, so therefore is no longer subject to the laws of gravity and death and disease and birth, because it has moved to its finer substance and can go upward, refined to the touch of finer environments. It drops old patterned balls of denser stuff, cancels the grip of Earth's descending pull, and bears the soul from world to higher world, till in the naked ether of the peaks, the spirit's simplicity alone is left. Till in the naked ether, till it ascends to the naked ether at the heights, and the spirit's simplicity alone is left, the eternal being's first transparent robe. So what is the first transparent robe of the eternal being? The spirit's robe. The subtler physical, which is the spirit's robe. The eternal being's first transparent robe. This robe is transparent, unlike the physical cloak and the robe of the body, which falls at death. But when it must come back to its mortal load and the hard ensemble of earth's experience, then its return resumes that heavier dress. But however, this body, when it has to come back down into the earth for its next birth and for its mortal and to get the earthly experience, then its return resumes that heavier dress. For long before Earth's solid vest was forged, by the technique of the atomic void, a lucent envelope of self-disguise was woven round the secret spirit in things. For long before Earth's solid vest was forged, by the technique of the atomic void, a lucent envelope of self-disguise was woven round the secret spirit in things. The subtle realms from those bright sheets are made. So here he says that long before earth, solidity, matter was forged, there was already a lucent, a light, a translucent envelope of disguise, of self-disguise, that was woven round the secret spirit in things, in all things and beings, the subtle realms. From those bright sheets, that lucent envelope, those bright sheets are made. So now you know the substance of how the subtle physical world is made. Where was it? How was it made? Where did it originate from? And why it was there? It was made because and by the secret spirit in things. It's like a self-disguise. But it was long before matter was formed. So matter could only be formed after the subtle physical material world. So when you have to go down, you go into gross matter. But the higher realms were already there. So for long before Earth's solid vest was forged, by the technique of the atomic void. What is the atomic void? Anyone knows? By the technique of the atomic void.
Because I think in physics it says that when the neutron and the
Electron.
meet, then an atom is formed. Various atoms together make the human.
Yes, so
I think that means.
could be. So by the technique of the atomic void, they say that the Big Bang took place. So in a sense, the technique, of course, here, this movement, a lucent envelope of self-disguise was woven round the secret spirit in things. The subtle realms from those bright sheets are made. This wonder world, with all its radiant boon of vision and inviolate happiness, only for expression cares and perfect form. So this wonder world of the subtle physical, only for expression cares and perfect form. Fair on its peaks, it has dangerous nether plains. Its light draws towards the verge of nature's lapse. It lends beauty to the terror of the gulfs, and fascinating eyes to perilous gods. Invests with grace the demon and the snake. Its trance imposes earth's inconscience. Immortal it weaves for us death's somber robe and authorizes our mortality. So, this medium serves a greater consciousness. This medium of what? Yeah, so this medium serves a greater consciousness, a vessel of its concealed autocracy. It is the subtle ground of matter's worlds. It is the immutable in their mutable forms. In the folds of its creative memory, it guards the deathless type of perishing things. So you see, here on earth, everything perishes, it changes, it moves, it destroys itself, it replenishes itself. There, in that subtle plane of the subtle physical world, there its true prototypes are always preserved. It guards the deathless type of perishing things. Its lowered potencies found our fallen strengths. Its thought invents our reasoned ignorance. Its sense fathers our body's reflexes. Our secret breath of untried mightier force. The lurking sun of an instant's inner sight. Its fine suggestions are a covert fount for our iridescent, rich imaginings, touching things common with transfiguring hues. Till even earth's mud grows rich and warm with the skies, and a glory gleams from the soul's decadence. Its knowledge is our error's starting point. Its beauty dons our mud mask ugliness. Its artist good begins our evil's tale. A heaven of creative truths above, a cosmos of harmonious dreams between, a chaos of dissolving forms below. It plunges lost in our inconscient base. Out of its fall, our denser matter came. It is the fall of the subtle physical, the subtle realm of matter, that translucent robe of light made of the divine substance of Om. That when it falls becomes our denser matter. That's why matter can evolve, because it is involved with in the spirit. Comes from that spiritual, subtle, physical matter, and falls. In its falling turns into gross matter. Out of its fall our denser matter came. So what happens? Now you know why we have to go slow. So, otherwise you'll miss all of this. It'll be wonderful, sleepy, dreamy poetry, but you will miss the deeper sense of what Sri Aurobindo is saying here. So most of the Life Divine, Synthesis of Yoga, all his writings, the supramental yoga, everything is embedded in Savitri. Every line of Savitri is one whole book of philosophy and yoga psychology. So, thus taken was God's plunge into the night. What is God? God is actually a word to denote something that is beyond our reach and our consciousness. So thus taken was God's plunge into the night. So it is the divine or the highest consciousness of Om, the creative word, that when it plunges into the earth becomes matter. Thus taken was God's plunge into the night, This fallen world became a nurse of souls, inhabited by concealed divinity. A being woke. And please note the word being is a capital B. So that is a divine being, woke and lived in the meaningless void. A worldwide nescience strove towards life and thought, a consciousness plucked out from mindless sleep. In fact, somebody has written some fabulous books about the mathematical equivalence of Om and the quotients and how the entire earth, even the 0, 1, infinity, all these codes of matter, of the atomic bomb, of various scientific discoveries actually come from the original word or the creative word of Om and what Om means in scientific language. There's a whole article on it. So a being woke and lived in the meaningless void. A worldwide nescience strove towards life and thought. A consciousness plucked out from mindless sleep. All here is driven by an insentient will, thus fallen, inconscient, frustrate, dense, inert, sunk into inanimate and torpid drowse. Earth lay, a drudge of sleep, forced to create. So when the highest divine consciousness or the God or the divine plunges into the night, it creates the earth, matter. What is earth? Earth is matter. And this matter, because it's plunged into the night of dense ignorance, is unconscious or inconscient or inert and dense. But there is sleeping within matter a consciousness that is in a trance. That is the consciousness of the divine, because it is originally the divine who plunges itself to become matter. But when it plunges itself into the darkness to create matter and a new creation or whatever you want to call it, then it takes on the shape of this inconscient so that it can evolve. It involves itself so that it can evolve. So this is what is written here. A worldwide nescience strove towards life and thought, a consciousness plucked out from mindless sleep. All here is driven by an insentient will, thus fallen, inconscient, frustrate, dense, inert, sunk into inanimate and torpid drowse. Earth lay, a drudge of sleep, forced to create by a subconscious yearning memory. So it lay in a drudge of sleep in a trance, forced to create by a subconscious yearning memory, subconscious, left from a happiness dead before she was born, an alien wonder on her senseless breast. This Maya must harbor the orchid and the rose. This Maya, this earth, this matter, this darkness, this ignorant matter, this Maya must harbor the orchid and the rose. From her blind, unwilling substance must emerge a beauty that belongs to happier spheres. This is the destiny bequeathed to her, as if a slain god left a golden trust to a blind force and an imprisoned soul. An immortal's godhead's perishable parts she must reconstitute from fragments lost, reword from a document complete elsewhere her doubtful title to her divine name. So she must reconstitute from fragments lost, reword from a document complete elsewhere her doubtful title to her divine name, a residue, her sole inheritance, all things she carries in her shapeless dust. So this is a wonderful description of how from the subtle physical world and from the highest divine consciousness, when the consciousness entered into darkness and the void, that darkness and the void, because of the divine consciousness that entered, that darkness and void was turned into matter, into inert, dense substance, and created the earth. This earth itself is matter in a drowse. The Godhead lies within material substance asleep because it has drowned itself to come down. That's why it says the holocaust of the Divine Mother. Her giant energy tied to petty forms in the slow tentative motion of her power, with only frail blunt instruments for use, she has accepted as her nature's need and given to man and as his stupendous work, a labor to the gods impossible. So, her giant energy tied, whose giant energy? Her giant energy tied to petty forms, in the slow tentative motion of her power, with only frail, blunt instruments for use. She is accepted as her nature's need and given to man as his stupendous work, a labor to the gods impossible. A life living hardly in a field of death, its portion claims of immortality. A brute half-conscious body serves as means, a mind that must recover, a knowledge lost, held in stone grip by the world's inconscience, and wearing still these countless knots of law, a spirit bound stand up as nature's king. So this giant energy, which accepts the slow tentative and is tied to petty forms and accepts this slow movement of consciousness, a mighty kinship is this daring's cause. All we attempt in this imperfect world looks forward or looks back beyond time's glass to its pure idea and firm inviolate type in an absolute creation's flawless skill. To seize the absolute in shapes that pass, to fix the eternal's touch in time-made things. This is the law of all perfection here. So what is the law of all perfection here? To seize the absolute in shapes that pass, to fix the eternal's touch in time-made things. This is the law of all perfection here. A fragment here is caught of heaven's design, else could we never hope for greater life, and ecstasy and glory could not be. So if this was not there, if there was not a higher world from which all these earth took its inspiration and manifestation from, then we would not be able to, we could never hope for greater life, and ecstasy and glory could not be. Even in the littleness of our mortal state, even in this prison house of outer form, a brilliant passage for the infallible flame is driven through gross walls of nerve and brain. So even in our mortal house, even in this body, in this mortal state, even in this prison house of outer form, material body, a wonderful miracle, a brilliant passage for the infallible flame has been created, has been driven through the gross walls of nerve and brain. A splendor presses or a power breaks through. Earth's great dull barrier is removed a while. So when this splendor presses or a power breaks through, Earth's great dull barrier is removed for some time. So this inner flame that is there even in the mortal's heart is there because of this fragment of the divine that has come down or is part of the earth consciousness. And it has driven through the earth, through even mortal form, its representation or representative, so that it can evolve and can help earth to evolve and human beings to evolve. So, a joyful anguish trembles in our limbs. A dream of beauty dances through the heart. A thought from the eternal mind draws near. Intimations cast from the invisible. Awaking from infinity's sleep come down. Symbols of that which never yet was made. But soon the inert flesh responds no more. Then sinks the sacred orgy of delight. The blaze of passion and the tide of power are taken from us, and, though a glowing form abides, astonishing earth, imagined supreme, too little of what was meant has left a trace. Earth's eyes half see, her forces half create, her rarest works are copies of heaven's art, a radiance of a golden artifice, a masterpiece of inspired device and rule. Her forms hid what they house and only mime the unseized miracle of self-born shapes that live forever in the eternal's gaze. Here is a difficult half-finished world, in a slow toiling of unconscious powers. Here is man's ignorant divining mind, his genius born from an inconscient soil. To copy on earth's copies is his art. For when he strives for things surpassing earth, too rude the workman's tools, too crude his stuff, and hardly with his heart's blood he achieves his transient house of the divine idea, his figure of a time-in for the unborn. Our being thrills with high, far memories, and would bring down their dateless meanings here. But, too divine for earthly nature's scheme, beyond our reach the eternal marvels blaze. Absolute they dwell, unborn, immutable, immaculate in the spirit's deathless air, immortal in a world of motionless time, and an unchanging muse of divine, of deep self-space. Only when we have climbed above ourselves, a line of the transcendent meets our road and joins us to the timeless and the true. It brings to us the inevitable word, the godlike act, the thoughts that never die. It brings to us the inevitable word, the godlike act, the thoughts that never die. A ripple of light and glory wraps the brain, and traveling down the moment's vanishing route, the figures of eternity arrive. As the mind's visitors or the heart's guests, they espouse our mortal brevity awhile, or seldom in some rare delivering glimpse, are caught by our vision's delicate surmise. Although beginnings only and first attempts, these glimmerings point to the secret of our birth and the hidden miracle of our destiny. So we had spoken last time about how this kingdom of the subtle matter, the subtle physical world, is actually, our earth is a reflection of that. This is the prototype of the perfect earth, of the perfect life, of the perfect material creation. Everything that we have on earth comes from this plane. So all the works of art, of poetry, of, material creation, architecture, everything is actually first, the prototype is on this plane. The plane of the subtle physical world. It's called the kingdom of the subtle matter. And then that comes down. So here, this is of course continuing with the description of this kingdom. What we are there and here on earth shall be, what we are there and here on earth shall be, is imaged in a contact and a call. As yet earth's imperfection is our sphere. Our nature's glass shows not our real self. However, in coming down from this subtle physical world into the material inconscience of earthly nature, there is a disfigurement. There is a imperfection. There is a certain inconscience that accumulates around everything. And that is why, as yet earth's imperfection is our sphere. Our nature's glass shows not our real self. So our real self is in this kingdom of subtle matter. The real, even each of us, our own bodies, a physical body, those who have the inner sight, the third eye open, they can also see their own self in the subtle physical. We all have our prototypes of our bodies in the subtle physical world. And those bodies are very different. Each of us is different. So they're taller, they're more luminous, they're more perfect. Here, even in birth, because we have to go through the process of birth, which itself is plunging into the inconscience, we get disfigured. Disfigured physically, mentally, vitally, in every way. So our nature's glass shows not our real self. That greatness still abides held back within. But that greatness is there in its bud. It still abides held back within. Earth's doubting future hides our heritage. The light now distant shall grow native here. So this light that is distant, it is there deep within us, shall grow native. So over time, this evolutionary process will allow this light to become native here. The light now distant shall grow native here. The strength that visits us, our comrade power, the ineffable, shall find a secret voice. The imperishable burn through matter's screen, making this mortal body Godhead's robe. Please note the words, making this mortal body that is still subject to birth, to death and decay and illness, making this mortal body Godhead's robe, the robe or the garment of the divine, of the God. The Spirit's greatness is our timeless source. So what is our timeless source? The Spirit's greatness is our timeless source, and it shall be our crown in endless time. A vast unknown is round us, and within all things are wrapped in the dynamic one. A subtle link of union joins all life. Thus, all creation is a single chain. We are not left alone in a closed scheme between a driving of inconscient force and an incommunicable absolute. Our life is a spur in a sublime soul range. Our life is a spur, a spur that you use on horses while riding. Our life is a spur in a sublime soul range. Our being looks beyond its walls of mind, and it communicates with greater worlds. Now, this is something we don't know. We get a sense of it in dream or when we sleep at night. But we are in communication with all these greater worlds. We are secretly, our soul and our spirit is in deep communication with the subtle physical, higher worlds, the transcendent planes of intuition, illumination. And that is where we derive our strength. In fact, this morning I read a beautiful quotation by Jean-Paul Sartre. He's that French philosopher, known as more of a cynicist. But he says that, if we didn't believe in the illusion of eternity, our life would be of no use. So I wanted to use the word, if we didn't believe in the intuition of eternity, or we didn't have that intuition of eternity. He, of course, calls eternity also an illusion, but at least he says that if we didn't know there was something eternal and immortal, well, what are we living this life? Our life would be of no use. What are we here for? Not just to live and die and become, So this sense of immortality, of eternity, of something that is imperishable, absolute, exists in all of us, in whichever form, even if we are not spiritual, if we are highly intellectual or highly mental, we still have that sense, there's something beyond. And that is what gives our life meaning and keeps us going from day to day. Because what are we doing here? We are not going to be lemmings. If we are all going to die and disappear and never have any meaning to our life or any whatever. So it's very deeply embedded, this sense of eternity in the cells of our body, in our consciousness. We believe we are eternal. We don't believe we are mortal. Do you believe you are mortal? So the thing is that you have to get back to your true self to understand that. But even if you don't meditate, we all exist as though we are immortal. If you see our daily existence, we don't think we are going to pop off in half a second. We won't wake up. Yeah. Does it ever occur to you? No. And including every other action we take. We don't act as though we are mortal and are going to die and never appear again. So this is the line that he's saying, that we have this very deep coded knowledge in our being and we are in touch with these immortal planes. So a subtle link of union joins all life, that thus all creation is a single chain. We are not left alone in a closed scheme between a driving of inconscient force and an incommunicable absolute. Our life is a spur in a sublime soul range. Our being looks beyond its walls of mind, and it communicates with greater worlds. There are brighter earths and wider heavens than ours. Now please note this. It's very interesting. There's beautiful explanations given. There are brighter earths and wider heavens than ours. As you know, science has discovered certain planets, but brighter earths I don't know if they've discovered. Certainly they've discovered wider heavens than ours, but what they are saying, that the universe is not just what we think it is. There are brighter earths and wider heavens than ours. There are realms where being broods in its own depths. It feels in its immense dynamic core, its nameless, unformed, unborn potencies cry for expression in the unshaped vast, ineffable beyond ignorance and death, the images of its everlasting truth. Okay, so look out from a chamber of its self-wrapped soul, as if to its own inner witness gaze, the spirit holds up its mirrored self and works. Alright, so ineffable beyond ignorance and death, the images of its everlasting truth, look out from a chamber of its self-wrapped soul, as if to its own inner witness gaze. The spirit holds up its mirrored self and works, the power and passion of its timeless heart, the figures of its formless ecstasy, the grandeurs of its multitudinous might. Thence comes the mystic substance of our souls, into the prodigy of our nature's birth. There is the unfallen height of all we are, and dateless fount of all we hope to be. On every plane the hieratic power, initiate of unspoken verities, dreams to transcribe and make a part of life, in its own native style and living tongue, some trait of the perfection of the unborn, some vision seen in the omniscient light, some far-off tone of the immortal rhapsodist voice, some rapture of the all-creating bliss, some form and plan of the beauty unutterable. Worlds are there nearer to those absolute realms, where the response to truth is swift and sure, and spirit is not hampered by its frame, and hearts by sharp division seized and rent, and delight and beauty are inhabitants, and love and sweetness are the law of life. A finer substance in a subtler mould embodies the divinity earth, but dreams. Its strength can overtake joy's running feet, overleaping the fixed hurdles set by time. The rapid net of an intuitive clasp captures the fugitive happiness we desire. A nature lifted by a larger breath, plastic and passive to the all-shaping fire, answers the flaming Godhead's casual touch. Immune from our inertia of response, it hears the word to which our hearts are deaf, adopts the seeing of immortal eyes, and, traveller on the roads of line and hue, pursues the spirit of beauty to its home. Thus we draw near to the all-wonderful, following his rapture in things as sign and guide. Beauty is his footprint, showing us where he has passed. So here comes his very famous line. Beauty is his footprint, showing us where he has passed. Who has passed? The immortal, the divine. So beauty is, in the physical world, beauty is what captures the God. Godhead most. The immortal is captured through beauty. That's why all human beings are attracted to beauty. All of us feel as though we are closer to ourselves, to our inner being when we place of beauty. We become quieter and more relaxed when we are in nature because it is supremely beautiful. So beauty is his footprint showing us where he has passed. And in the opposite, ugliness and darkness and all that is actually what we normally are repelled from. We don't like it. We don't want to be in that kind of atmosphere. That is why that is not where he has passed. So, beauty is his footprint showing us where he has passed. Love is his heartbeat's rhythm in mortal breasts. So, love is his heartbeat's rhythm in mortal breasts. So, love as an emotion or as a feeling is something that is actually the divine's heartbeats in our mortal breasts. Happiness, the smile on his adorable face. A communion of spiritual entities, a genius of creative immanence, makes all creation deeply intimate. So, a communion of spiritual entities, a genius of creative immanence, makes all creation deeply intimate. Immanence is another word of the immortal. Immanence, that is immanent, always present. So, makes all creation deeply intimate. A fourth dimension. So, you know the three dimensions of matter? A fourth dimension of aesthetic sense, where all is ourselves, ourselves in all. So, this fourth dimension is the spiritual dimension, or the psychic dimension of aesthetic sense, where all is in ourselves and we are ourselves are in all. So, this unity, the sense of identity that comes from the fourth dimension, because the three dimensions are physical, vital, emotional, mental. Fourth dimension could be psychic, spiritual. That which is intangible but which is the ether, which informs and is in all. So, you have also the five elements, no? So, makes all creation deeply intimate. A fourth dimension of aesthetic sense, where all is in ourselves, ourselves in all, to the cosmic wideness realigns our souls. So, this fourth dimension realigns our souls to the cosmic wideness. A kindling rapture joins the seer and seen. The craftsman and the craft grow inly one. Inly is a very special word that Sri Aurobindo uses and is coined. It's a new word that he coined in Savitri. In fact, it didn't exist before he wrote Savitri. But the craftsman and the craft grown inly one. Inly means he is some inwardly one. Inly, through the inner sense, through the inner dimension. So, the craftsman and the craft grown inly one achieve perfection by the magic throb and passion of their close identity. All that we slowly piece from gathered parts, or by long labour stumblingly evolve, is there self-born by its eternal right. In us too, the intuitive fire can burn. An agent light, it is coiled in our folded hearts. On the celestial levels is its home. Descending, it can bring those heavens here. But rarely burns the flame nor burns for long. The joy it calls from those diviner heights brings brief magnificent reminiscences and high splendid glimpses of interpreting thought, but not the utter vision and delight. A veil is kept. Something is still held back, lest, captives of the beauty and the joy, our souls forget to the highest to aspire. So that we don't get so absorbed in this beauty and delight. There is a veil that is kept between us and this eternal light or eternal flame within us. So that we don't get so enamored of it that we forget to go beyond it, because there are still higher planes that we have to evolve towards. Human beings can't be self-satisfied with their human life and their mortal life. We have to aspire towards immortality and a new body and a new consciousness. So therefore this veil is there to help us so that we don't get just, like lotus eaters. We get very satisfied with the little we have and the beauty we have. the light we have, the peace we have, if we had all that. Therefore, the veil is there to keep pushing us towards higher and higher achievements. And veil is the veil of pain, the veil of desire, all these are veils. So, in that fair, subtle realm, behind our own, please note, this is the description of the kingdom of the subtle matter. Now, this subtle physical world is behind our own. What does that mean? That is interpenetrating our own. It's not something that exists only above, it is also behind. So it is interpenetrating. You see, we are not aware of this subtle physical world. But when you become conscious of it, you will see that it coexists with this world. So note the words. In that fair, subtle realm, behind our own realm, earthly realm, the form is all and physical gods are kings. The inspiring light plays in fine boundaries. A faultless beauty comes by nature's grace. So who are the kings in that fair realm? Physical gods are kings. And the light there, and there is a faultless beauty and light there, comes by nature's grace. Their liberty is perfection's guarantee. Although the absolute image lacks, although this realm lacks the absolute image, the word incarnate, the sheer spiritual ecstasy, all is a miracle of symmetric charm. So this world of subtle light, of subtle matter, physical matter, is a physical world. It lacks the absolute image, the incarnate word, the spiritual ecstasy. It lacks that. However, it has what we call as perfect form, perfect beauty, perfection in the material sense. It is a world of perfect material beauty. So that's why I said all the most beautiful creations, material creations, of which we try and create here, they are existent in that world. Whether they are architectural creations or scientific creations or creations of nature, they are of art, they are already pre-existent in their most perfect form in this world, and human beings make some caricature of them in this. Some of them are able to express that beauty. That's why they say, Mother often says, oh, this world already exists, I'm trying to manifest it down here. I'm trying to bring down Aurobindo into the physical world. I'm trying to bring down this creation into the physical world. But this creation has to exist in some subtle physical realm so that it can come down into the physical world. If it doesn't exist in the subtle physical realm, it cannot come down into the physical world. So that's why this manifesting word is constantly used in Sri Aurobindo and the Mother's Yoga. So, in that fair subtle realm behind our own, the form is all and physical gods are kings. The inspiring light plays in fine boundaries. A faultless beauty comes by nature's grace. Their liberty is perfection's guarantee. Although the absolute image lacks the word incarnate, the spiritual ecstasy, all is a miracle of symmetric charm, a fantasy of perfect line and rule. There, all feel satisfied in themselves and whole. A rich completeness is by limit made. So a rich completeness is made by limitation, by limit made. A rich completeness is by limit made. Marvel in an utter littleness abounds. An intricate rapture riots in a small space. Each rhythm is kin to its environment. Each line is perfect and inevitable. So each rhythm is kin to its environment. Each line is perfect and inevitable. Each object faultlessly built for charm and use in this subtle physical realm. All is enamored of its own delight. Intact it lives of its perfection sure, in a heaven-pleased, self-glad immunity. Content to be, it has need of nothing more. Here was not futile effort's broken heart, exempt from the ordeal and the test, empty of opposition and of pain. It was a world that couldn't fear nor grieve. So this world of the subtle physical world is a world that neither has fear nor grief. It was a world that could not fear nor grieve. It had no grace of error or defeat. It had no room for fault, no power to fail. Out of some packed self-bliss,
it drew at once, its form discoveries of the mute idea, and the miracle of its rhythmic thoughts and acts, its clear technique of firm and rounded lives, its gracious people of inanimate shapes, and glory of breathing bodies like our own. Amazed, and glory of breathing bodies like our own. Please note. So there are subtle physical beings and bodies, people living there in their perfect form. As I said, our prototypes are there. So when you have the film like an Avatar, I'm sure you've seen it, and several other films, they're not so far away. Inception. They are catching some truth. Yes. So it's gracious people of inanimate shapes and glory of breathing bodies like our own. So it has both. I think the word inanimate here doesn't mean in the way we take it, inanimate. He takes it from the Latin word, Greek word inanimate and inanimos. So there are these gracious, there are these gods, you could say. They are inanimate because they're almost not breathing, There are all these different types of things that are there. Maybe he means here even trees, prototypes of trees. I don't know what he means, inanimate shapes. So he sort of, he doesn't mean human beings here. So he means there are certain other beings plus human breathing, bodies. And glory of breathing bodies like our own. So not exactly our own, like our own. Amazed, his senses ravished with delight. So here, it's gracious people of inanimate shapes. People, I wonder whether he means in the sense of, it doesn't mean as human people, but peopled. Maybe he means more in terms of numbers, populace, rather than humans. It's gracious people of inanimate shapes and glory of breathing bodies like our own, amazed, his senses ravished with delight. Whose senses? Ashwapati's. He moved in a divine yet kindred world. So it was both a divine yet kindred means, what kindred souls are? Known, kindred world. Admiring marvelous forms, so near to ours, yet perfect, like the playthings of a god. Wonderful, marvelous forms so near to us, yet perfect, like the playthings of a god. Deathless in the aspect of mortality. So in this subtle physical world, there are the deathless prototypes of our death-bound bodies and souls. So we have two bodies, our subtle physical body and our physical body. Even if you know, in the physical body, we have sheaths. We have Annamaya Purusha, Pranamaya Purusha. There's so many sheaths, no? So even for illness, before it can enter the gross physical, which is this, what you touch, it has to enter through the subtle physical sheaths. And here is this plane of subtle physical world from which this gross physical body emanates from, comes from, descends from. So, when you study Savitri and you study Sri Aurobindo's yoga, this is in poetic form. This is the whole yoga of Sri Aurobindo written in poetic form. The knowledge, the wisdom, the depth, each time you read this, more and more knowledge, comes forth. So, admiring marvelous forms, so near to ours, yet perfect like the playthings of a god, deathless in the aspect of mortality. In their narrow and exclusive absolutes, the finite's ranked supremacies throned abide. It dreams not ever of what might have been. Only in boundaries can this absolute live. Now again, here there are limitations. So this, unlike the total freedom and liberty that human beings have, in this subtle physical world, there are boundaries under which you have to read. There are certain fixed rules. That freedom and liberty is not available. You understand? Therefore you have to come down into birth to evolve. They are fixed types. There's no evolution taking place in this world. There is no growth, there is no progress taking place in this subtle physical world. They are the prototypes, the perfect types of everything there. I don't know if that is clear. So, he moved in a divine yet kindred world, admiring marvelous forms so near to ours, yet perfect like the playthings of a god, deathless in the aspect of mortality. In their narrow and exclusive absolutes, the finite's ranked supremacies throned abide. It dreams not ever of what might have been. Only in boundaries can this absolute live. In a supremeness bound to its own plan, where all was finished and no wits were left, like in a cloth. It was a finished product, a finished piece. There were no wits left to change, no space for shadows of the immeasurable, no room for the incalculable surprise. A captive of its own beauty and ecstasy, in a magic circle wrought the enchanted might, the spirit stood back, effaced behind its frame, admired for the bright finality of its lines. A blue horizon limited the soul. Thought moved in luminous facilities. The outer ideals, shallows, its swim range. Life in its boundaries lingered satisfied with the small happiness of the body's acts. Assigned as force to a bound corner mind, attached to the safe paucity of her room, she did her little works and played and slept, and thought not of a greater work undone. Forgetful of her violent, vast desires, forgetful of the heights to which she rose, her walk was fixed within a radiant grove, the beautiful body of a soul at ease. Like one who laughs in sweet and sunlit groves, childlike she swung in her gold cradle of joy. Who is she here? Which force? Yeah, so this is nature. So in this, assigned as force to a bound corner mind, attached to the safe paucity of her room, she did her little works and played and slept, and thought not of a greater work undone. There was no, as I said, no evolution, no progress here. Forgetful of her violent, vast desires, forgetful of the heights to which she rose, her walk was fixed within a radiant grove, the beautiful body of a soul at ease. Like one who laughs in sweet and sunlit groves, childlike she swung in her gold cradle of joy. The spacious call reached not her charmed abode. She had no wings for wide and dangerous flight. She paced no peril of sky or of abyss. She knew no vistas and no mighty dreams, no yearning for her lost infinitudes. A perfect picture in a perfect frame. Now this describes this wonderful kingdom of the subtle matter. A perfect picture in a perfect frame. The picture in a perfect frame. A perfect picture in a perfect frame. This fairy artistry could not keep his will. Whose will? Ashwapati's will. It was beautiful, but it could not keep his, could not engage him beyond the time. This fairy artistry could not keep his will to remain there. Only a moment's fine release it gave. Careless hour was spent in a slight bliss. Our spirit tires of being surfaces. We can't, the sameness after a while, even though it's absolute and perfect and beautiful and wonderful, and it tires of it, the sameness, the monotony of it. It needs to have challenges and vicissitudes. This is the way the spirit is. You can't be in a fix. So even same with Ashwapati. He was wonderful, enamored and all, but then he tired of this. This is not it. I have to go further. So he moves on. Our spirit tires of being surfaces. This fairy artistry could not keep his will. Only a moment's fine release it gave. A careless hour was spent in a slight bliss. Our spirit tires of being surfaces. Transcended is the splendor of the form. It turns to hidden powers and deeper states. So now he looked beyond for greater light. His soul's peak climb, abandoning in its rear this brilliant courtyard of the house of days, he left that fine material paradise. So this is what is this kingdom of subtle matter? It is the kingdom and of fine material paradise. It is the paradisal, it's the physical material paradise. This is the origin, the prototype from which our material paradise comes from. This brilliant courtyard of the house of days, he left that fine material paradise. His destiny lay beyond in larger space. End of Canto 2. Then we go to Canto 3, the glory and the fall of life. Don't forget, we are now in the book of the traveler of the worlds. And who is traveling in all these inner kingdoms and higher kingdoms and deeper kingdoms? Ashwapati. So he starts his travel close to earth. Starts with the world stair, where he first sees the whole stair of consciousness, all the different kingdoms. Then from there he comes to the first kingdom, which is absolutely close to earth. It is behind us, it is independent, in front of us, above us, within us, everywhere. The kingdom of subtle matter. Then he goes to the next kingdom, which is the glory and fall of life, which is, he goes further, and so on. The kingdom of the little life and the little mind, and then he goes to the paradise of the life gods, and then he goes all the various. So now this is actually, if you really look at it, how do you explain this? This is something that you have to experience. We haven't traveled here. We go to America and we go to Europe, we can describe it. We go to Africa, Sri Lanka. How do we describe these kingdoms? And how do we travel there? Can we travel there? Quietness, depth. I mean, you have to go do some sort of tapasya. Sorry? Yeah, there has to be a discipline, there has to be there is a method, but it requires its own rigor, discipline and practice. Aurobindo himself said that it takes time, but I think you have to dedicate yourself to this. It can't be something you do once in a while. It can't be a pastime. So you have to be dedicated to this, and then you have to be totally surrendered. Aurobindo's own yoga was very simple. He said, I used one thing only. I completely surrendered to the divine. Everything that ever happened to me, he would just place it in front of the divine and say, it's your will. And it's very difficult to do that. Very easy to say. What is this, that wonderful line? A vast surrender was his only strength. He said, I only had one thing. I would keep surrendering. That means he would leave the responsibility, the whole, to the divine, even of his life. Means what happened to him, whether he was alive or dead or ate or not, did not eat or what different thing. He would not try and struggle. There was no struggle. There was this deep inner, and he would just keep concentrating and bringing down the force and doing the sadhana. But on the other hand, there is a time and process. Our souls are, this is the school. Mother always said that the world is our school. Life is our school. And these are our teachers, each problem, each event in life. And strangely, even though we are unaware of it, our souls are growing and are preparing themselves for that time when we are ready to do full-time engagement in yoga. It can't happen by the mind. That, you decide that I want to achieve this, so I will now give up everything and do it. You won't. You'll go either into some sort of a craziness or you will fall. It has to happen in a very natural progression. So therefore this idea in Sri Aurobindo's yoga and also in Indian yoga of graduality, the law of graduality. You heard of it? The law of graduality? So in the law of graduality, the whole yoga is said to be done through stages. That means that there are laws, there are steps that have to be followed. And these things take time. And each soul's journey is unique. And each soul's age and time of ripeness is unique. But the main thing what Mother says is that are you sincere in taking up this journey to the best of your ability now? How sincere are you towards it? It doesn't matter whether you achieve something or not. Don't. It's more the sincerity of the path, of treading and walking that path, and not forgetting or becoming, losing it and saying, okay, now I'm going this way or I'm going that way. You know, you can't have your legs in two boats. Now, as a sailor or as an army man, you cannot be in two different cars, and one going in one direction, the other one going in the other direction. What's going to happen? You'll fall into the sea, you'll drown, or you lose your way, or you'll become confused, or you will never reach your destination. In the same way, you have to keep both your legs in this and your feet planted in the same direction and move forward. And that is the only way to do this yoga. Yeah, so it's not an easy answer. There's no set method. Everyone says, oh, but what are we supposed to do? There's no answer to that.